We have Congressman Eliot Engel from New York. Congressman Engel.
Good evening. I guess it's evening already, everybody. I'm Congressman Eliot Engel from New York City, and I am the ranking member on the House Foreign Affairs Committee. I'm also a founding member of the India Caucus, which we formed here back in, I think, 1990 or 91 or 92, something like that. I was one of a few original members, and today that caucus has grown even stronger, bipartisan caucus. And I've long believed that U.S.-India ties are of paramount importance for both countries. They make sense for both countries. And I have always done everything in my power to strengthen a U.S.-Indian relationship. And I'm glad that the relations are good. Sometimes relations between countries get bumpy for no particular reason. But I think the fact that we have so much in common, with the U.S. being the oldest democracy and India being the largest democracy, with geopolitical attitudes being very similar. We have similar friends and similar adversaries. So I just think it makes a lot of sense to forge even closer U.S.-India ties. So I want to thank the U.S.-India Political Action Committee for hosting today's event, and for all the work you're doing to increase Indian-American participation in the American political process. I want to share with you that the other day I had the opportunity to speak by telephone and congratulate Rajnath Singh on the BJP's historic victory. And I also invited Mr. Singh and Prime Minister-designate Modi to visit the U.S. soon. I wanted to make that call. I was glad to make that call. I was glad we connected. And I wanted to move as the ranking Democrat on the Foreign Affairs Committee as quickly as possible. I wanted to take a moment to congratulate our friends from India, who have just completed the largest democratic exercise on the face of this planet in the history of the world. That's quite something. That's really quite an accomplishment. I think the record is broken every 5 years, though, when Indians go to the polls. But the numbers are staggering. Over 550 million Indians cast their ballots in over 900,000 polling stations in a voting process that spanned 5 weeks. When you look at the world, sometimes we all think the world is going to pot or to hell in a breadbasket, as the adage goes. Not in India. When people say that democracy can't take root because local people are poor or don't like it or whatever, not in India. It takes root in India. And so I think the world can learn a lesson from what our friends in India did. And the peaceful transition of power that is occurring in India right now is a great example for the entire international community. You know, when we had our election here, the big contested one in 2000, when we didn't know if Al Gore or George Bush won, and for all those weeks you may remember it was kind of hanging chads in Florida and kind of what happened. I got up and when I gave speeches during those days, and I said, you know, what makes our country great is that there was a contested election. It was undecided for weeks and weeks, and there were no tanks on the ground. There were no troops on the ground. It was done in a democratic process. And when you take India, historic India, partitioned in 1947 into India and Pakistan, and you take a look and watch the two countries in those 67 years, India has had a vibrant democracy, and Pakistan has had one coup after another. So something must be done. They must be doing something right in India, and that something right is democracy. So to take this election, with the results of this election and the transition, comes an opportunity, I think, for the people of India and for the U.S.-Indian relationship. And to take that relationship to the next level, we'll need real focus and leadership on both sides, from both countries. It won't be easy. President Obama faces many domestic and international challenges, and we all know them: Iran, Syria, Ukraine, we can go on and on. Narendra Modi comes to office with an overwhelming mandate for economic reform and the expectation that he will be able to reinvigorate India's economy. And Modi's message on the campaign trail focused on good governance and economic growth. And if he's able to turn this message into a concrete program, then I see a potential for a major expansion of our trade ties, and that will benefit both countries. Trade is prosperity, trade is money, and both the United States and India can use that right now. So recapturing the trade and investment relationship, which is a keen interest for Mr. Modi, that will be key to getting the U.S.-India relationship back on track. So I applaud the efforts of the Singh-led government to help bring 700 million Indians out of poverty. And I look forward to working with the new Modi government to further this goal. Working together, we will make the U.S.-India relationship one of the defining partnerships of the 21st century. And I really believe that it is a defining partnership and should be a defining partnership. And let me conclude by saying this. We're blessed here in America because we have many people who came here from all over the world. You know, unless you were what we call American Indians, right? We are all immigrants or children of immigrants, or grandchildren of immigrants, or great-grandchildren of immigrants. And I believe that immigration's been good for this country because people who come here make this country prosper and grow. I always like to say, you know, lazy people stay home. But people that come to this country aren't lazy. They're industrious. They're the best and the brightest, and we in America are fortunate to have them. And so the Indian American community, like so many other hyphenated communities, contribute so much to the United States of America, but also are a bridge between the countries, the country in which they came and the country that they're in now, the United States. And since I've had quite a bit to do with the Indian American community for years, I have seen the talent and ingenuity and drive and hard work, and know that this community here in America is really going to make the difference in terms of cementing the relationship between our two countries. I just know it's going to happen. So I look forward to visiting India this year. I think it would be time for me to make another trip. You know, I remember sitting in the Parliament in Delhi. I was there for the 50th anniversary of Indian independence, so it was 1997. And we sat there at midnight, and they rang a bell, and they said that was 50 years to the second since India declared its independence back in 1947. And I remember sitting there, and since I majored in history and I love politics and I love political science, thinking, wow, that I had the opportunity to actually be there 50 years to the second after Indian independence. So I think that our two countries can really teach the world a little something about what democracy is and what freedom is. And so it's an honor for me to do everything I can as ranking member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee to enhance the U.S.-India relationship. And I pledge to work with all of you individually and collectively for those goals that we all share. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Congressman, for those wonderful remarks. He has been a true and long-term friend of India and Indian Americans.